Today we're multiplying and dividing real numbers. Okay, reciprocal. Take any number and flip it, that's your reciprocal. Excuse me. If it's a fraction, that's fine. 3/4, the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. If it's not a fraction, let's say 7, the reciprocal of 7 would just be 1/7. Reciprocals are extremely important. Reciprocals are what we use to solve equations. Any number multiplied by its reciprocal is 1. And that's why we use them, to get 1. Our idea, our goal in algebra is to get 1 of whatever variable we're doing. We want a variable by solve for x. We want 1x equals whatever. We want to get that 1. We only have 1 of them. There's a fraction there, we've got to get rid of it. There's another number there, we've got to get rid of it. Reciprocals are how we do it often. Questions? Now, one of the other things we're going to be doing and working on today is multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. When you are working on today's worksheet, and when I hand it out, I will talk more about it again then. What I want you to do is to be able to figure out what type of answer you're going to have actually before you have the answer. So for example, if I'm multiplying two positive numbers, I get a positive number. You should be able to look and know what the answer should look like before you actually get the answer. Does that make sense? One of the things that you want to develop, one of the things that will make this class and other classes, and when you're using math outside of school, is developing a number sense. You don't always have to know the exact answer, but if you have an idea where you're headed, okay, that really helps. Okay? If you have a positive and a negative, your answer is going to be negative. And if you multiply two negatives, what do you get? Positive. And this only works with multiplication. The signs, positive, negative stuff only works with multiplication. If they're the same, you get a positive. If the signs are different, when you're multiplying or dividing, you get a negative. Okay. Any questions on that? Hope not. Okay. So before I even do the work, I want to know what the answer is going to look like. So for this first example here, is my answer going to be positive or negative? Negative. For the second one, is my answer going to be positive or negative? Positive. For this last one here, is my answer going to be positive or negative? Positive. It's going to be positive. You should be able to know the sign even before you do the work. When you do your worksheet, I want you to do that. When you do your worksheet today, and you're going to have you're going to have negatives and positives, figure out if the answer is positive or negative before you do the arithmetic. Okay? It'll make you better at doing math in here if that's what you do. Yeah. 12 times 8. 12 times 8. 96. Thank you. Okay. 24 times 0.5. Well, 0.5 is what? It's half, right? So what's half of 24? 12. Okay. Now, multiplying fractions. If you can reduce before you multiply, you can cross-cancel and reduce beforehand. I can't. Nothing in the numerators reduces with anything in the denominator. So what do? Just multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. Multiplying is the easiest thing there is to do with fractions. Just multiply straight across. Any questions from that first page? I think it should be fairly straightforward, I hope. Not to say that if you don't have questions or if you want to ask questions later, please do not be afraid to ask for help. I will not judge you on your need for help. Okay, I understand not everybody works at the same level. Not everybody works at the same ability. There may be some things in this class that are really easy for you and some things that are really hard. Some things that may just not have clicked at some point. Hopefully we can make them click if you have struggles. Do not be afraid to ask for help on anything. Okay, that's probably the hardest part about learning is not being afraid to ask questions when you're stuck. Ask questions and need help. I will not judge you on any questions you have. If you're afraid to ask in front of everybody else, just ask me privately. I'll be glad to help you out. Okay, square roots. Okay. Is my negative inside or outside the square root? It's outside, so my answer is going to be negative. If it's inside, you can't do it. You can't take the square root of a negative number because nothing times itself will be negative. But it's outside, so the negative is outside. Order of operations, the square root comes before the negative. What is the square root of 25? 5. This is a problem that needlessly worries students. They see this like, oh my God, I can't take the square root of a fraction. It's actually very easy. It's plus or minus the square root of 4 over the square root of 49. That's all you do. If it's a fraction, it's the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator. Which is plus or minus, not plus or equal. Plus or minus 2/7. And yes, plus or minus. We don't know which one. We're going to take them both and use them both as we need it. Yes, question. We're almost done with this. When we're done, if you don't mind. Okay. Problem number 3, dividing real numbers. Okay. Skydiver's elevation begins at 3,600, but elevation changes by 3,600 feet, going down in 4 minutes. What does the elevation change each minute? In other words, how fast is he dropping in feet per minute? That's what this is asking. It's asking how fast in feet per minute. Well, my ratio is feet per minute, so I said the feet divided by the number of minutes. The number of feet divided by the number of minutes. And then you simplify. So my answer is going to be negative because he's going down. He's falling. I hope he's got to shoot. 3,600 divided by 4. Well, I can ignore the double zeros at this point. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So he's going down at 900 feet per minute. Okay. Any questions? Here we go. Last one. When you divide a fraction by a fraction, divide a fraction by a fraction. This is the same thing as that. 3/4 divided by 2/3. How do you solve it? You invert and multiply. Which fraction do you invert? The second one, not the first one, the second one. Always the second one. So you have 3/4 times 3/2. That's what you do. You take the second fraction and invert it. So the second fraction flips it over. That's the rule. Okay. You cannot simplify ahead of time. 9/8. And my rule is leave it improper. Don't write it as a mixed number, leave it improper. Okay. Now, as an aside, put down your pencils, eyes up front. not necessary to write this down, but why do you invert and multiply? This is why you invert and multiply. You have this fraction here where you're dividing 3/4 divided by 2/3. I want to make the denominator 1, so I have just a number over 1, my answer over 1. What do I multiply 2/3 by to get 1? You go back here, you multiply it by its reciprocal. So I multiply. So what I do is I multiply this by 3/2. And if I multiply the denominator by 3/2, I multiply the numerator by 3/2. This becomes 1, and I have this, which is the same. That's why you do it. Compound fraction, I want 1 in my denominator. How do I make this 1? I invert the second one, multiply it by its reciprocal. If I do the bottom, I have to do the top. That's why you do it. Do I expect you to remember that? No. But I thought I'd show it to you while I had the opportunity. Any questions? Okay.